Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl and welcome to my sewing room. I'm going to demonstrate how to put binding on a round pot holder. I'll show you the difference between using straight grain binding and using bias cut binding. When you sew bias cut binding on a round pot holder, it's done a little differently than using straight grain binding. But before we get started, I want to introduce you to the latest member of my staff. Isn't he cute? His name is Scotty. He's a miniature schnauzer. He's just a little over 8 weeks old. We picked him up yesterday. We're all tired, but we got through our first night just fine. So let's get started on the pot holder. This round pot holder looks okay, but if you get up real close and you start looking at the binding, you're going to see there's tucks here and there all the way around the pot holder, and the edges slightly curl up. Now I'm going to turn it over on the back and look at this. You're going to see all kinds of tucks on the back of that pot holder. If I tried to stretch this binding to get those tucks out, it will curl up even more. It's going to start looking like a bowl instead of a flat pot holder. Let's look at a pot holder, same one, made with binding that is cut on the bias. And if you look closely, there are no tucks, and it lays a lot flatter. This one actually looks larger than the other one. They're both the same size, but because the edges are curling up, it looks smaller. Then when I turn it over on the back, there are no tucks. And look at this one. So if you want really good results on your projects, make sure you're using the appropriate type of binding to get the best results possible. Let's look at a piece of binding that is cut on straight grain. And when I try to stretch it, it does not stretch. Now, here's one that is cut on the bias. And when I tug on it, it stretches. And that's what you want. So anything that you make that is round or have a curved edge, this is the best type of binding to use. If you have a cell phone handy, put the video on pause and take a snapshot of these cutting instructions. Now you're going to need 2 circles 7.5 inches in diameter of fabric for the top and bottom. They can either be the same fabric or something different. And then 2 7.5 inch diameter circles of cotton batting. Or if you prefer, you can use 1 layer of cotton batting and 1 layer of a polyester type of fabric that helps to block the heat. This one is called Insulbright, but I'm sure there are others out there. So check with your fabric store to see if they carry anything like that. Then you need, of course, 1 strip of binding cut on the bias, 2 3/4 inches wide, and give yourself about 30 inches in length, and that should be more than enough that you will need. I always like to have a little more than not enough. Here I have some fabric with these large flowers on it, and I want to do something called a fussy cut. In other words, I want just this flower to be in the center of my pot holder. So I went to the kitchen and robbed my husband of one of his bowls. He's the cook in the family. And this is a clear plastic one. You can see right through it. So I just laid this bowl right over the top, looked straight down through here and centered the flower. Then press firmly down and either take a fabric marker or a pencil and draw around your bowl. Then go ahead and cut it with some scissors. Place the fabric that you're going to use on the bottom. Place it wrong side up. Then your 2 layers of insulation, and then whatever fabric you're going to use on the top. Then you want to pin the layers together. So I would just use some straight pins because this is so small. Use 4 or 5 straight pins and place them all over the top. And the reason why we want to pin them together is you want to secure everything so when you do the top stitching, the fabric layers do not shift. The stitching pattern that I'm going to use is just, I'm going to do straight lines across. Now this is what it's going to look like when you're done. I used a decorative pattern. You can use a straight stitch. So let me show you what it would look like, or the process you go through to make it. So here's some light fabric so you can see the stitching really well. You want to start in the center on one side and go straight to the other side. Then go over 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches and do another line and then another line. Then go over to the other side and do the same thing. You always want to start in the middle. Then turn it and go down the middle again and then work your way out. So you have this little crisscross pattern. And this is what it looks like if you're going to use a decorative quilting stitch. After you got this done, then take your binding strip and make sure that your binding strip ends are going in the same direction, either to your left or to your right, as long as they're the same. Don't have them where they're going in opposite directions. Fold it in half and press it. Start pinning it down. You don't want to stretch the binding. It'll lay down really easy without any effort on your part. Pin it like this all the way around. Your pins are going to be fairly close together. Then keep pinning, and when your ends begin to come together, you're going to overlap those ends. Then pull this one end back just a little bit and put another little dot in the same place where this is. Now you're going to open this one up and you're going to cut the excess off, and you're going to use a ruler or a ruler with a 45-degree line on it. And you're going to take that 45-degree line and put it on this edge here. Okay. And let me move it over just a little bit more. Place it on that edge and put that dot on the 1/4 inch, or where you on the 1/4 inch line. So 45-degree line this way and the dot on the 1/4 inch line this way. Then cut off that excess. All right, good. Now you're going to bring these ends together. So you're going to bring them over together like this. So let me put some scrap pieces here because it's a little easier to show this next step on camera when it's a little bit more free using for me. So pretend that these two strips are attached to the pot holder. You're going to take this dot and bring it over to this dot. So grab it and you're going to unpin this side. Take this dot, bring right sides together, and it's going to be dot to dot, and bring it like this. Now you're going to see that you're going to have little tails sticking out on both sides. You're going to have these little 1/4 inch tails, and then pin it together. You're going to need, I would use 3 or 4 pins to bring these little edges together. After you've got them pinned, then you want to do a 1/4 inch seam all the way across here. Now that you've got your two ends stitched together, then finger press this seam open. Then fold it back. And then finish pinning it all down. Okay, fold it back, pin it down, and then you're going to do a 3/8 of an inch seam all the way around from this raw edge in 3/8 of an inch all the way around the entire pot holder. Then after you're done, make sure you've removed all the pins, and it's going to look like this. Don't panic, this is how it's supposed to look. Now you're going to flip it over on the back and you're going to fold the binding over the edges. And it'll come over really easy. You won't have to struggle on this at all. Okay, now you're going to pin it on the back, and you're going to just fold it over really easy. You're going to take this folded edge and bring it past that stitch line and pin it down. Pin it all the way around, and it will pin down really, really easily. And again, your pins will be fairly close together. Then you're going to flip it over on the front, and you're going to do stitch in the ditch, and that's where two pieces of fabric come together, and you're going to stitch right next to the binding but not on it. So stitch real close, go all the way around, and it'll be a beautiful pot holder. See how nice and flat that is on the front? For instructions on how to put a hanging loop on a round pot holder and for other pot holder projects, play this video until a green screen appears and then click on the links. If you like this video, please click on thumbs up, and don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click on that red subscribe button down there in the lower right hand corner of your screen. Click on the bell and enter your email address so you receive those email notifications about my latest video. If you're not receiving the emails, then go to your cell phone or iPad, click on settings, and turn notifications on. This is Maria, this is Jamie, this is Bob, this is Connie, and you all know Manny. Bye-bye.